morning, everyone, and welcome to this morning's episode of the Maritime Morning Brief, brought to you by the Marine Exchange of Puget Sound. I am your host today, Sarah, and we are back again this morning bringing you the essentials on vessel movements and maritime conditions today in Washington. It is Friday, March 17th, 2025, and today we are anticipating the arrival of 3 vessels. This is expected to include 2 container ships and 1 tanker. We're also expecting the departure of 4 vessels, including 2 container ships, 1 general cargo, and 1 vehicle carrier. But as always, ship schedules are dynamic and they are subject to change. So make sure to log into our AAS feed, check out the daily paper, or call into the Operations Center for the most up-to-date information throughout the day. For today's tides in Seattle, we will have high tides at 06:14 and 18:08, with a low tide at 12:22. For the weather, we are expecting a high of 52 degrees and a low of 37, with variable winds around 5 knots or less and a chance of rain throughout the day. All right, before we sign off with you today, I just wanted to share a special clip with you for today's episode. We were fortunate enough to have Jake Beattie, Chief Executive Officer of the Maritime Center and founder, creator of Race to Alaska, come into our office and speak with us to record a special episode for you all. Unfortunately, our podcasting equipment did fail, our backup failed, and there's not much that you can do with that. I guess we just do what we can, pick up, keep going. But we do have 10 minutes of the beginning of our interview with him that sort of highlights his background, how he got into maritime, and the creation of Race to Alaska, which is really fantastic. Unfortunately, that is all we have for you, which is just so sad. It was a great episode. He talked about all that the Maritime Center does, including the Race to Alaska, but also some of the other great races they do, including the 70-48, the Washington 360, and how each of these races contributes to, fostering the community, as well as the outreach and education they do for not only kids, but also adults just looking to, get hands on maritime, like learning to build boats, learning to sail, all kinds of things like that, and deeply discussed sort of the work that they do in middle school programs and high school programs, specifically in Port Townsend, to connect kids sort of through this pipeline into maritime careers. That also includes the Maritime High School. They do great work there. If you would like to learn more about that, I highly, highly encourage you to go head over to their website, northwestmaritime.org, and take a minute or the time you would have spent listening to our fantastic episode with him and just check out their website and all the cool things they do. They encompass so many things that unfortunately we can't even begin to cover because it's so detailed. But we hope you enjoy this special little clip from Jake. And if you ever get the chance to meet him, he's a fantastic person. And we really want to thank him for coming to join us. It was really special to even just get to talk to him at all. We might not have got the recording, but talking to him is so valuable because they're doing a lot of great work. So with that, I'm going to leave you with this clip. And we are here today with Jake Beattie from the Northwest Maritime Center, Chief Executive Officer in Port Townsend, and also creator of Race to Alaska.
All those things are true. Yes, hello.
Hi. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself today here before we get started?
Sure. Taurus. I was born in Bellingham, grew up there, and then went to the East Coast for college, and then decided that I needed a vacation from working full-time and going to school full-time. Went to sea on a tall ship with a promise I'd be there for a month, and then kind of never left the ocean. So I went, became really enamored with maritime education through a couple of different sail training organizations, and then was outward bound, then did some commercial work on tugs on the East Coast, and then it kind of ended my commercial career as mate for Western Pioneer, taking like containerized freight to Alaska and back to pay for my outward bound habit, basically.
You're an adventurer.
I when my best days, Patrick, yes.
So that's kind of, that seems like that's what drew you in, though, was the adventure, the going to sea and doing something different. Is that right?
Absolutely, yep. Cool. And then quickly became like watching the power of the sea to really like turn on people's light bulbs, right? Like just take people that weren't finding success elsewhere and like really give them something that just lit up their world. It's just so, as an educator, it's incredibly fulfilling to watch.
That definitely resonates with me, not finding success elsewhere. And then I joined the Coast Guard, and I thought, 4 years, I'll do this, and I'm out, get some money for college. But then, here I am. It's like 30 years I'm into this thing. So I totally understand that. That's really cool.
Yeah, Patrick talks about that a lot. The adventure that Maritime provides. So that's Exhibit A right there. You kind of done a little bit of everything, it seems like.
It's true, a little bit. Well, now, I mean, for the last 20 years, I have swallowed the anchor, as they say, and have been in nonprofit management, really trying to get more and more people engaged in one way or another in this incredible blue part of our planet.
Speaking of adventure, we heard that you have something to do with the Rayska. Can you talk about that?
Well, Sarah introduced me earlier and said I created it, which is true. Race to Alaska came out of my brain.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So can you describe how that happened?
It was at a beer tent, if I'm being honest.
All right, most good maritime ideas come from there.
But it was like pretty early in the evening, so I like to consider it a lightly lubricated idea.
I'd like to hear about some heavily lubricated ideas later on.
Okay,
we'll get into that.
That'll be for the bonus tracks.
The outtakes.
Anyway, there was a group of people. I really, through my career, kept finding myself getting on smaller and smaller boats, to both for personal enjoyment and for instruction. Where the last thing I did with my license was to do outward bound courses on these 26-foot open rowing and sailboats with like 13 people that exist on board and sleep on board. So it's this really tight, intimate. Not like that, Patrick. Come on, this is a kid's show. Really, like, you have a relation. You row at 2 knots. You might sail at 4. The currents go 7. So there's this incredible interaction you have to have with the environment and with your crew and with your boat, where you become one. And there is just this connection with, especially the magical tidal nature of this part of the planet that just really resonated with me. And so at this Wooden Boat Festival beer tent, we were a bunch of us like sail and oar people sitting around like, how do we get more people excited about doing something other than like finding the biggest motorboat they can find and like go drink martinis in different places? And I hated all the other ideas. And I said something like, what if we just nailed $10,000 to a tree and catch a can and like said, go get it? And everyone looked at me like I was an idiot.
That's basically how it turned out.
That's basically how it turned out. No, but there was something there. I was like, no, that's kind of magic. Whatever I just said on accident, like that. Let's lean on that a little bit.
That is, I mean, the voice of R2AK. So I'm a comms person, so I notice everything that comes out of that voice, and that is 100%. It's always stuck to that vibe, that like idea of literally just, all right, let's go.
Well, and the second place prize is
a set of steak knives.
And I hear most people want those more.
It's really true. I mean, there's people that want to win. Like, it's kind of like people usually get mad because there's no classes, there's no rules, there's no time correction. So, like, newsflash, the fastest boat's probably going to win, and that's not fair, said people. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, there's not a lot of rules to this.
Thousands of people do the Boston Marathon, but like, it's going to be one of 3 barefoot Nigerians that's going to win, right? Every year, right? And they're trying to win, but everyone else is just trying to do something incredible and connect with this incredible coastline that we have.
I think it's a brilliant idea. My side of the R2AK is when I was in the Coast Guard as enforcement.
Oh, no.
So
I'm glad we're still friends.
I can tell you about the Coast Guard vision of the Race to Alaska. And it was controversial because I was there, and of course I was so stoked about it. And everyone else is like, oh, this is not safe, or, oh, someone's definitely going to die, go out there. And I'm like, well, I mean, yeah, hasn't happened yet. But, who?
It was really funny. We created the rules by just going right to the letter of the law. We're like, whatever's required by the Coast Guard is required for your boat.
Yeah.
And it was interesting that the Coast Guard was always like, well, shouldn't you have more? I'm like, this is your rules.
This is your rules. Yeah.
So we're just enforcing your rules.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, thankfully we've had a couple close calls, but I think we've had less incidents per capita. This is not a real stat, but like, it's 2025. It doesn't really matter. I think we've probably had less per capita incidents than like the boating public in general. So I think we're above average.
I'd say less than what I would expect. I did search and rescue here for a long time. Here, Hawaii, other places, and it seems good to go to me. I haven't seen many problems out there.
There's been a few years, Patrick. There's been a couple bad years.
There was the one year where, I think 3 people went in at the same time, something like that. But, it worked out.
Usually the problems come in the first. So there's 2 stages of the Race to Alaska. Mm-hmm. The first stage is kind of the qualifying stage, and you have to get from Port Townsend to Victoria in 36 hours, regardless of weather.
Right.
And that's just a way for us of like weeding out people that, we can kind of get our arms around them when they're close to civilization, but when you're 300 miles from the nearest Canadian Coast Guard station in Hecate Strait somewhere, we have to make sure that people fail early. And it's a pass fail. So the first stage has nothing to do with whether you win the race or what your time is. We restart in Victoria for the second stage. But people forget that. People are just so amped on adrenaline. Even though there were years we were like, there's a squall and it's going to happen right here. You have plenty of time. Go across the line and then let's go back in the marina. And like, every team except for one team just went and they got hammered. The team that year, that was the year that the average age of the team was like 16 and a half. It was a bunch of teenagers. Wow. And they were the only ones that made the good decision. And it was like, what? We've got to do a reset at the next captain's meeting because like there is no way 16-year-olds should be making better decisions than everyone else.
Well, that is the end of our clip that we have with Jake. Super unfortunately. Some of the other things he discussed while we had him here was, the fantastic things about his work and also some of the challenges that come with helping, educate people about maritime, that the word maritime is so kind of vague sometimes and we don't always do the best job at marketing ourselves, but we're all kind of trying to work to do a little bit better at that. There are disconnects between everybody wants to help out and get into the schools and talk to the kids. It's hard to get connected with these schools sometimes, and it's not only hard for us, it's hard for the schools. So sometimes the best thing we can do is put our money where our mouth is and, just let the experts, people like some of the other great nonprofits in the area, people like Northwest Maritime, let them facilitate this, let them do what they do best and kind of get those programs rolling. So that's something we took away from that, as well as, just helping people see themselves in maritime. If you can connect with the Northwest Maritime Center, they have internships, they have mentorship programs. So if you're willing to offer up anything like that to them, that would be great, as well as, just fostering that welcomeness in our community. So again, I really encourage you to go check out Northwest Maritime's webpage today and take some time to learn more about what they do, since we did not get our full episode in here. And I just want to say thank you again to Jake Beattie. We really, really appreciated having you. And again, even if we didn't get our episode recorded, we took a lot away from that conversation. And we hope to be connecting much more with them in the future. So with that, we appreciate you joining us for today's special episode of the Maritime Morning Brief. If you enjoyed the report, don't forget to subscribe and share. And we look forward to seeing you all again bright and early tomorrow morning.